Hello and welcome back, and in this video we are going to be creating our add new task view controller. Now add new task view controller is going to basically help us add a record into core data, and we are going to be creating that as the first view controller because we want to be able to add records into core data before we start listing them out into a table view. Okay, so since we have already covered some of the basics of programmatic UI in the last video, we are gonna go basically in full speed in this video because the knowledge that you gained is going to help you build this whole view controller programmatically. Okay, so let's go ahead and choose a new file and select CocoaTouch class as the template. We want to create something called add new task, and this is going to be a view controller subclass, so just make sure you have like UI view controller here. Leave the zib checked off. We are not creating this using interface builder, and make sure your language is set as Swift. Go ahead and click next. Save it because this is basically going to save it at the location where your folder is. So just go ahead and create that so you have your file created. And Xcode by default add some comments and stuff to help you out, but we don't need that because we know what we are doing here. So we're simply gonna remove all of them, and we're gonna start by putting together all the UI elements that we're gonna need. We're gonna start with the task name label. So once again, we're gonna create a lazy var task name label, which is going to be UI label type. Create a computed property for this. We want to give this label a text. So we're going to simply say text is equal to task name. Okay, and then we're gonna create our next element, which is task, actually lazy var task name text field, UI text field, and we are pretty much following the same pattern that we actually looked at in the last for creating our views programmatically. And we're gonna create our view for UI text field. Make sure we return this view. Okay, and then we set the translate auto resizing as false. And if you see constraint errors, like, this is the first thing you might want to check is like, that your auto resizing mask into constraint is set as false. It's an easy miss, basically when you're creating your UI, but it actually does create a lot of trouble, if you forget it. Okay, trouble meaning basically it's really hard to find sometimes what's going on. We're gonna add a placeholder text to the view, and we're gonna say enter task name as the placeholder text. Okay, and basically we're gonna also set the border style as rounded rect for this text field, and yeah, that's about it. Those are all the things that we need for the UI text field. Next, we need a due on label. Okay, and this is going to be a UI date picker. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a UI date picker. and we're gonna create our UI date picker. Make sure to return that view. Make sure that we have marked constraints to false, and then we're gonna first set the date picker mode, and we only want to be able to select, we want to show only the date field, not date and time. And for the minimum date, that means like, user cannot select a date in past. We're gonna actually set the minimum date, and we're gonna set this as the date of today. That way, like, our user is restricted to pick values only from today onwards. Okay, now let's say if you want to put like, a max limit, meaning you want like, up to certain date, basically user can pick their entries or dates, then you can mark it with like, maximum date property. Okay, now these are all the UI elements that we are going to basically need. And next thing we're going to do is we are going to basically create instance of our view model, and our view model is already ready. So view model, add new task, view model. Okay, let's go back into our view model and make sure that we have actually so we have not tied it or basically bind it with the core data. So let's go ahead and replace this comment with core data manager dot shared dot add new task, pass the name that we have received and pass the due date that we have received. Okay, let's go back, and basically we are going to go into our add new. So we're gonna create the instance of our view model, and inside the view did load, we are going to basically set up our view first and then set up our constraints. So let's go ahead and create a private function called setup views, setup view. Okay, this is going to be a place where we're going to set up our current view, and a private function to set up constraints. That way where the constraints are being set and the view is being set. Setup view and setup constraints are basically going to be called here, or you can actually move this out and call it as the last thing in your setup view. Okay, now inside the setup view, we're going to set few things. For example, we're going to set the background color for the view as UI color dot system background color, so we can adapt to the dark mode and light mode. Okay, and for the title, we want to display a title to this view, and this title is going to be add new task. Okay, and for the navigation item, because we are in the navigation controller, we're going to display a right bar button item, and we want to display a save button. So we're going to simply create UI bar button item, and we're going to use the overload that takes a bar button system item with a target and action. So we're going to say we need a save button. Target is going to be self. The action is something that we have not created, so let's go ahead and create a action function, and this is going to be private function. By the way, you can mark them private or leave them as is, but they have to be marked as obc. Okay, so we can say obc function, and we are going to call this a save task. Okay, and this guy is going to be called here save task. Okay, and save task is simply going to save the task that we have created. Let's go ahead and see what is the problem here. Save task does conform to okay, we're actually executing the function. We don't need to execute the function. You just need to pass the name of the selector. It doesn't matter if you have, like, if you have obfusc in a different line. I like to keep it this way because this actually clearly indicates that this is an obfusc function, and this is how property wrappers are defined. Okay. Okay, so let's go back, and we have our navigation bar set with save task. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our elements. So we're going to create an array, task name label, task name text field, due on label, and due on date picker. Now notice that we have different types mixed in this array, but because all of them inherit from UI view, they are all subclasses of UI view in their inheritance chain, we can actually just use them directly with the for each, and this is going to give us a view, and we're going to simply call the view.add subview and pass the view that we have received. Let's name it properly, subview to add, and there we go. Okay, so this is basically all the setup that we need to do in order to set our UI. And next thing is basically calling our constraints. Okay, so basically setting up our constraints, and we're going to simply go in our setup constraints, which is the last function called inside the setup view, and we are going to say ns layout constraints dot activate, and we're going to first set the task name label. We're going to set the stop anchor constrained to view dot safe area layout guide dot top anchor with the constant of 16 points as the margin between them. Okay, task name label dot leading anchor is going to be constrained equal to view dot safe area layout dot leading safe area layout guide dot leading anchor, and the margin is going to be 16. Now we want our task label to expand as much as possible so it can fit all its content. So we're not going to give it a trailing anchor. Okay, so it's going to automatically create that, so that's free form. And right underneath we want to actually display the task name text field, so we're going to create our task name text field constraint. Top anchor for this guy is going to be constrained to the task name label dot bottom anchor. Okay, and there's going to be a constant of 8, a gap of 8 points between them. And then we have task text field leading anchor, and this is going to be constrained to view dot safe area layout guide dot leading anchor, and constant is going to be 16 points. And task name text field dot trailing anchor, we want actually our text view to expand to entire width of the screen, so we're going to constrain this to the trailing equal to view dot safe area layout guide dot trailing anchor. Okay, with the constant of -16. Okay, now our task text field is set. Now next thing is the due on label, so due on label dot top anchor dot constrain equal to, and we're gonna make it basically appear right underneath our task name text field, so task name text field dot bottom anchor, and there's going to be a gap of 8 points between them. And let's see what is the error here. Okay, we forgot to put a comma here, and I want to make sure we put a comma here as well, because this is eventually an array of constraints that we want to activate. And due on label is also going to have a leading anchor, which is going to be constrained equal to, Now this time around, we're going to do something different. We're going to constrain it to exactly the same level as task name field. You can do this too. So I just want to show you another variation of the constraint that you can put in. So task name text field, and whatever its leading is, align due on label with that same leading value. Now let's go ahead and put the last view or last constraint, which is due on date picker, and its top anchor is going to be constrained to task name text field dot bottom. Okay, so wherever the task name is, okay, and 8 points from there. All right, so actually let's put it underneath the due on label, not here. Okay, there we go. And we want to basically align the actually, you know what, let's check out our view. So if I open this one, okay, so our completed or due on so due on label is, oh, this is the due on label. So due on label is right here, and due on basically wait, this one. Okay, add new task. Due on is basically at the leading, and the picker is right on the same line. So it's not going to be this guy, but it's going to be this guy rather. So top is going to be anchored to the text field, and then the trailing edge is what we need to set. Well, I got confused for a minute. Okay, so trailing anchor is going to be equal to the trailing anchor of the task text field. Okay, so these two are going to be aligned on the trailing edge. All right, so we have basically our all of our constraints ready. Now save task is going to basically save the task, but if the task value is empty, or like, you know, basically nothing in the task text field, in that case we want to display an alert to the user telling them that task cannot be empty, okay, before we actually save the record, because we don't want to save an empty record. So we are simply going to create a guard let task name, and we want to fetch the task name from task name text field, and we want to make sure that task name is not empty. Okay, if it is, then we want to show an alert. So alert UI alert controller, and we are going to initialize with the title error message task name can't be empty. Okay, and the preferred style is gonna be an alert. Okay, and then we're gonna add an action to this alert, and this is going to be UI alert action, which takes a title, simply okay, and the style is going to be default. We want to present this alert, and we're going to mark it, present it animated, so just set animated as true. Okay, so basically what's going to happen is we are going to, and we want to make sure that we return from here. Okay, that's what this error was talking about. Okay, so whenever the task name is empty, we want to make sure that we actually display an alert telling user that, hey, task name is empty. Now if it is not empty, we want to create our due on we want to get due on date that user has selected from due on date picker dot date property. Okay, so it's going to basically give us the date, and then we're going to call our view model and add task with the task name that user has given and due on date that they have selected. Now we want to basically call our navigation controller and pop the call pop view controller with animation true because we want to actually dismiss this view as soon as user has saved that task. Okay. All right. So this is all of our view control or add new task view controller. Okay. Let's go ahead and add this into our main view controller. So we're going to go to do list view controller, and we are going to add this as a navigation bar item. Okay, so we're going to simply say navigation item dot right bar button item. Okay, UI bar button item. And we're going to use the overload that takes a bar button system item. Add is going to be the operation. Okay, target is going to be self, and we're going to have a selector called add new task. We don't have that yet, so let's go ahead and create that selector. And the selector is going to be like this. Okay, and it is simply going to call our navigation controller and push a new view controller called add new task view controller into the navigation stack, and it's gonna activate it. So basically your new view or add new task view controller is gonna be launched. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and try this out. So I'm gonna build and run, and basically what we should see is a plus button, and clicking on plus should launch our add new task. Okay, so we're going to create wash car, and let's go ahead and set it to a future date, and we're going to simply save this, and our dismiss is working. Now we are saving this, and it's making into our core data persistent layer, but we cannot see it at this point because we have not actually finished our loading view, or the table view yet. Let's go ahead and add a couple more. So when we create and load our table view, we actually get the list of items. So check out devtechie.com. It's going to be another one, and let's check it out tomorrow. Okay, so gonna see a save two. So we have two tasks created. We have our to add new task view controller ready to go. So in the next video, we're gonna start working towards our next set of UI elements and view controllers. Okay, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.